محمد نبينا بنور حبينا من مكة حبيبي نور سطع المدينة من صلى صلاته يدخل الشفاة يا بدل بدل ما سفال في مماته صلي على محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله صلي على النبي وتبسم ده النبي تبسم وتبسم ده النبي تبسم اللهم صل عليه قلب المتين يا كل ما صلى عليك وسلم ذاك السعادة مكرما يا سيدي يا قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وإثرها يبكى إذا مست أيادي وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وإثرها يبكى إذا مست أيادي الله الله وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد حبيب الله يا خير البراء يا قمرون 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 سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل قمرون 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 سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل.
Okay, I think we can start now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you all are making the most of this blessed month. Welcome to the Ramadan Summit. This is the final treat of the Design Post-COVID Humanity Program, based on the three virtues, Ta'aruf, Ta'awun, and Tarahum, acquaintance, cooperation, and mercifulness. DPCH is under the umbrella of Maker Majlis, an initiative organized by College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar. I'm Alina Zaman, and I will be your moderator for today. we'll be having two guest speakers. Our first guest speaker will be Dr. Husna Ahmed, and our second guest speaker will be Khadeja Ahmed Al-Buhalika. So firstly, Dr. Ahmed is the CEO of Global One 2015 with a PhD in environmental law from the School of Oriental and African Studies, London University. Dr. Ahmed is the former group CEO of Faith Region Foundation, which is a multi-faith UK charity. She's currently a board member of Bond, Faith in Water, and Palmer's Green Mosque. She's a member of the UN Task Force Faith-Based Advisory Council. She sits on the International Advisory Board of the Commonwealth Initiative for Freedom of Religion and Belief. She sits on the steering committee of the World Bank's Moral Imperative Initiative. She is an author and thought leader who has presented many papers internationally, focusing particularly on faith and the environment. She's the Secretary General of the World Muslim Leadership Forum and coordinator for the Alliance of NGOs and CSOs for South-South Cooperation. Over to you, Dr. Husna. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Alina. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, my beloved brothers and sisters, and Ramadan Kareem to you all. I'm delighted and truly honored to be participating in this series of Ramadan TED Talks, and especially happy to be speaking to the youth. Surah Asr, the declining day. By time, indeed, mankind is in loss, except for those who have believed and done righteous deeds, and advised each other to truth and advised each other to patience. Time is what we are racing against right now. You're young, so maybe you don't value your youth and health right now. But with the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, I just want to remind you of how insignificant we are in the whole puzzle we call life. The world has changed to be unrecognizable in so many ways, both good and bad. The idea I want to share with you is the difference between a future for our millennials and Gen Zs, full of hope and light, and a future of darkness and hardship. We've had all the scientists, international institutions, and the politicians trying to fix the world, trying to repair the damage that the race for power and industrialization has caused. Now it's time for the faithful to come forward. The 84% of the planet who adhere to a religion or faith need to be woken up. And you, our youth, need to take charge of your destiny and the planet's destiny. Today, there are 1.8 billion people between the ages of 10 to 24 years old. You are the largest generation of youth in history. Close to 90% of the youth live in developing countries, the global south, where they make up a proportion of the population. My youngest son just turned 16 years old. How do I look into his eyes, which are so full of hope for his unknown future, and tell him that he may not be able to fulfill his dreams because of the greed, corruption, and power struggles that have consumed the generations before him? In 9 years from now, we're facing the climate catastrophe, and we also aim to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The responses to the current COVID-19 crisis have exposed the failures in how our world is currently dominated by overconsumption, mass deprivation, and environmental destruction. Hence, global efforts to build back better after the COVID-19 pandemic is an opportunity to find, advocate, and implement recovery strategies that build more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient communities. What are the UN Sustainable Development Goals? The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is a resolution adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2015 that is focused around achieving 17 goals within 15 years. The Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better, more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. I'd love to see Muslim youth take positive action towards achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals by participating, being agents of change, and mobilizing their communities to improve the lives of people and the health of the planet. Now, I wish to tell you a story of hope, to tell you the story of the hummingbird, a very small bird with glimmering green feathers, soft to the touch, red throat feathers, long, smooth beak. The name hummingbird comes from the humming noise their wings make as they beat so fast. There was a fire in the jungle. all the animals started rushing out of the jungle, but not the hummingbird. She stayed put and kept going to the river to collect water to put out the fire. She would take a drop of water in her long beak to put out the fire and then go back to the river to collect more water. When the other animals saw what she was doing, they stopped in their tracks and came back to help her put out the fire. I have been described as the hummingbird, and I'm sure many women and mothers out there are also hummingbirds, because in the face of adversity, we don't give up. When challenges come our way, we don't give up. We are resilient, and most importantly, we are hopeful. We are hopeful for the future of our children and our grandchildren. Our iman is strong, and we have tawakkul Allah. Just like the hummingbird, I want you to have faith in your own ability to be a catalyst for change. What change am I talking about? The gear change, the change that means a green reset for this planet. You are the millennials and Gen Z or Gen Z. You don't need to follow the herd, but need to lead. You need to follow the morals and ethics of your beautiful religion, Islam. What is your role as Muslim millennials and Gen Zs? The UN SDGs are about upholding human rights and focusing on economic and social development and environmental protection. The necessity of protecting the planet is the theme behind the SDGs, but also a common theme in all religions to preserve our world. Therefore, cooperating to sustain our planet should be in the common interest. As the SDGs are a universal call to action, it's important that all faiths work together to address the pressing concerns globally that impact on all human life. I believe that every single SDG is based on Islamic traditions and teachings. My organization, Global One, is tackling many of the SDGs, and it was founded on the basis and belief that there is a need for more women, more Muslim women, to emerge as leaders and change makers, inspired by their faith teachings and not blocked, but encouraged and supported by their faith communities. It holds this ambition equally for women everywhere, and thus integrates the participation, equal opportunities and leadership of women in all of its projects. In the same way, I believe you as Muslim youth, men and women, have the responsibility to be role models and leaders in achieving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals through the use of faith as a tool to remind our Muslim communities globally about the beautiful teachings of Islam. I believe the Muslim youth all over the world can approach the mission of the SDGs. We must be at the individual as well as the collective level aware and conscious of our limited resources that we share, not only with billions of other people on this planet, but all of creation, and driven to preserve and utilize them sustainably. Each and every SDG is important, and nearly 2 billion Muslims in the world. If we succeed in achieving them by 2030, that will mean a success for the Ummah. As for me, this also means leaving no one behind. I won't be able to speak about every SDG today, so I'll focus just on two, SDG 2 and SDG 13, Zero Hunger and Climate Action. As the Muslim millennials and the Gen Zs, you have a more important role to play than any generation before you. During this blessed month of Ramadan, the month of mercy, of forgiveness and nijat, safety from the hellfire, you and I will fast all day and break our fast with a nutritious meal and sleep on a comfortable bed in the peace and security of our own homes. Just think for a moment about SDG Zero Hunger. In a world where we produce enough food to feed everyone, still 690 million people go to bed on an empty stomach each night. Acute food insecurity affected 135 million people in 55 countries in 2019. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that figure's bound to rise. So we've got 14,000 children under the age of 5 who die daily. But it's remarkable that we produce enough food. We produce enough food. Did you know that every year 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted, equivalent to the same amount produced in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa? Food security is a top priority of the global community and should also be for the faith communities as well. So let me reiterate, there's more than enough food produced in the world to feed everyone on the planet. About 690 million people worldwide go to bed hungry each night. Small farmers, herders, and fishermen produce about 70% of the global food supply, yet they are especially vulnerable to food insecurity. Poverty and hunger are most acute among the rural populations. Conflict is a major driver of hunger. The UN estimates that 122 million of 144 million stunted children live in countries affected by conflict. An estimated 14 million children under the age of 5 worldwide suffer from severe acute malnutrition, also known as severe wasting. Yet only 25% of these severely malnourished children have access to life-saving treatment. So what can you do about it? You are just one person, but I urge you to consider becoming the hummingbird. Another SDG is SDG 13 on climate action. Environmental degradation and climate change have been identified as the great challenges of all time, as well as increasingly becoming one of the world's greatest injustices. So what does Islam say about the environment? Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "There is none amongst the Muslims who plants a tree or sows seeds and then a bird or a person or an animal eats from it, but is regarded as a charitable gift." Sahih Bukhari. According to Islam, humans are the caretakers and stewards of God's earth. The Quran, he tells us, "I am going to place in the earth a Khalifa, steward." Quran 2:30. The Holy Quran reminds us of the beauty of our precious planet. Who has created the 7 heavens, one above another? You can see no fault in the creation of the most beneficent. Then look again, can you see any rifts? Then look again, and yet again, your sight will return to you in a state of humiliation and worn out. As Muslims, we're taught that humans are stewards of this planet. It's a trust given to us by Allah, and we have the responsibility of preserving the natural order on earth and maintaining its balance, and must strive to ensure the fair allocation of resources. Now you will ask me, how, when, and why? The how is your creativity. While youth often do not have much traditional power needed to create change, you can wield huge amounts of influence through the connections you form throughout society and your pragmatic approach to getting your message heard by appropriating every form of media, often before any other group recognizes the usefulness of new forms of media. Young people have always been key actors to powerful social movements that transform the course of history, of the course of human history. Youth have been important to every progressive social movement, including the civil rights movement in the US, to activism surrounding today's climate crisis. Young people have always been particularly capable in making their voices heard, especially through their savvy approach to utilizing new media tools to create and circulate important voices and stories. While young people are still overlooked and disengaged when it comes to civic action, we have much to learn from you. People are already engaged in mobilizing their peers, families, and communities towards positive social transformations, with examples from Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai. You may question, how does my faith fit into this? Your USP is that you are Muslim youth, and it is your faith traditions which give you the key to achieving the SDGs. So your role is indeed vital. The MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, which came before the SDGs, didn't succeed. Why is that? It's because the hearts and minds of people were not engaged. Religious communities were not engaged. The convictions that come from one's faith cannot be replaced by secular constructs of development. Spiritual intelligence is required as much or even more than technology if Agenda 2030 is to succeed. Your role of positive action to achieve the SDGs is not just targeted at the Muslim world. We only have one planet and we are all in this together. So your leadership is required at a global level, not just local or national. I'm reminded of our blessed Prophet Muhammad ﷺ when he delivered his final sermon, Khutbah al-Wida. In his khutbah, the blessed Prophet spoke about universal values of fairness, justice, equality, and economic justice, which we should all incorporate into our lives. I want to ensure that there are 2 threads that run through all your future work and leadership roles: zero tolerance of any form of discrimination and humility in your attitude. The human social lifestyle from an Islamic viewpoint is about adding value through good deeds and knowledge as part of the human role in the formation of the universe, helping other people, bringing up next generations in good manners, and living happily in a world which eliminates waste and overconsumption. Finally, my nasiha for you, the Muslim youth, is to know your identity, traditions and roots. Be proud of who you are and be a person of dignity, authenticity and humility. Be like the hummingbird, the first to come forward to end a calamity, the first to support the most vulnerable in the community. Through your examples, others will follow, inshallah. My call to action is for you to explore the SDGs and choose one to lead on. To achieve the SDGs, we need everyone, governments, private sector, international bodies, faith communities, and especially our youth and youth movements. By linking the SDGs back to the core values of Islam with stewardship, balance and respect as some of the main concepts, new inspiration can be provided for large parts of our Muslim communities by connecting our faith to modern concepts of sustainable development looking to the future. You, the Muslim youth, can communicate messages on action for sustainable development by linking Islamic values to campaigns, for example, on ending poverty, health, or on climate change. Young people are known throughout history to have been agents of change through authentic messages spread using new mediums. Use your faith as a tool for positive action. Bring about change in people's habits, in attitudes, and be an example of an ethical model of sustainable development in any of the 3 pillars of the SDGs: economy, social, or environmental development. Please remember the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, if the hour, the day of resurrection is about to be established and one of you is holding a palm shoot, let him take advantage of even 1 second before the hour is established to plant it. Al-Albani. Thank you and assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair for this credible and inspirational talk, Dr. Husna. I'm truly touched by it. And I agree with you, and I'm feeling guilty right now as you just touched upon the SDGs of climate change and hunger. As this is the month of Ramadan, as the youth, it's our responsibility, and we should definitely take on board these leadership skills and strive for this change. Like usually sometimes people think about sustainable development goals that, you know, they're just made up by these NGOs and we don't have a role. But the way, if we connect the SDGs with Islam, then we will see that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. We have a role, we need to preserve this world, we need to take care of it. And just speaking about the SDG for hunger, like as it's Ramadan right now, there are so many little acts and deeds that we can do by volunteering for an NGO, by making ration packages. And as it's Ramadan, every deed that we do, it will be doubled up, like the reward will be doubled up for us. So this is the least that we can do. And secondly, just for climate change as well, for those who have who have gardens, backyards, and who can plant a tree just around their house. But even if you can't do it within your house, you can always do it within your community. There's so much as to what we can do. And speaking of climate change, again, as I said in the beginning, like I feel guilty for this because, you know, we know that, you know, we're supposed to like stop using plastic and like switch to using glass and not and take this responsibility, as well as by creating awareness as well. So yeah, so I'm someone who feels guilty, and every time I'm like, I have a plastic water bottle outside and I'm like, okay, it's much easier because I feel difficult, you know, it's difficult carrying a glass bottle, or it's hard, or, you know, it might break. But if we don't take the responsibility, and if we don't take the change, then what kind of lesson or guidance will we be providing for the next generation? So thank you so much for these wise words. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please unmute yourself. You may ask. Oh, Tekang.
Hello, Doctor. Good afternoon. Thanks very much for the beautiful explanation, connecting the SDGs and doing kind of a resume about the other Millennium Development Goals. Probably I have a worry, and my worry lies on these 2 questions in which I'm probably going to give you. Looking from another perspective, a lot of these preachings about the SDGs is particularly in the global south. I don't know what to think because of following the news. I don't see a lot of young people probably in Europe, in America, speaking so much about the 17 SDGs, strong institutions, education, and a lot more. So I don't know if these programs are definitely tailored in the southern part of the world, or they call it global south. That's my first question. My second question lies at what you said about the holy book, Quran, and equally probably it's written in the Bible about nature, about education, about institutions, and a lot more. They are found in this stuff. How do we encourage those who are neither Christians nor Muslims, that's those who say atheists, in the drive against making sure that we got and the SDGs being achieved within this time frame? So, thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Tekang. So in terms of the SDGs, in Europe and in the US, there's a lot more focus on the SDGs and a lot more work being done. My experience has actually been that because I'm in Europe, I'm in London. My experience has been that the Muslim communities aren't engaging as much, and I think partly because the Muslim communities, the majority are in the global South, and they are the ones that are affected so terribly by climate change, by civil strife, by all the things been happening throughout the world. So for us, we have to take it on as a religious duty, that we are stewards of this planet. If we take it on thinking that it's a Western construct, this SDG has just been imposed on us, it's not going to work. We have to understand that this is something which is part and parcel of who we are. Whether the UN existed, the UN's existed now for 75 years, but before that, the faith communities have always been there. They've always existed, and they've always been taking care of the planet and having that mizan and the balance, looking out for your neighbors. If you see that your neighbor is going hungry, you will make sure that you take food for your neighbor. So these sort of etiquettes and adab and attitudes that the faith communities, not just the Muslims, the Christians and other Hindus, other faiths also have these, really, really important. And without them, I don't think the SDGs are going to succeed for sure. So, there's a huge need for yourself, people like you, Tekang, to get involved. And then you were asking about how do we encourage people who are secular? So in terms of the secular communities, they're already on board anyway. So, in the Western world, secularism is the main sort of driver for a lot. So they understand and they realize, because they're fearful of death, because they don't know that, for them, an afterlife doesn't exist. For us, this life is transient. We know that, this is a test for us. And so obviously, we want to have a balance in this life and, get rewards for the hereafter. I hope that's addressed your question. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Husna. Thank you so much for your time and for your incredible talk. It's an honor having you here. Now we will be moving on to our second talk by Khadeja Ahmed Al-Buhaliqa. So Khadeja is the Youth Advisory Committee's Vice President, and she's recognized as a youth supporter and motivational speaker for change. And one of her accomplishments that help her achieve this mark is by attending international youth conferences as a Qatar youth representative. Likewise, Khadeja represented Qatar in the UN Youth Conference 2018 as one of the 100 youth leaders from around the world. Khadeja is a life coaching trainer who specializes in the development of small and medium enterprises. She's also the founder of an innovative startup called Hank's Garden. Over to you, Khadeja.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate, the small introduction. Dr. Hasina, you were a great. I love your speech. SDG goals, let's all agree this is like mandatory. And I'm one of the youth that actually, lobbying and actively participating in everything related to SDG goals. And let's not forget Maker Majlis, which is one of the pillars that we have in like celebrating and actually working with SDG here in Qatar. So thank you for making this happen and making like, an umbrella for everyone to work underneath SDG, underneath the measures maker. One more thing, can I share my slide? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so today, you can see what's on the slide? Oops, sorry. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if I can do. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay, just I need to read my notes at the same time. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what can you buy. To be honest, when I put this title, I was thinking about many things in life. I was thinking about discussing entrepreneurship, and then I was like, no, let's discuss something else. And while I'm like, between topics to topics, I was moving, but I see we can buy lots of things. It's all based on the decision making that we need to choose between things all around to find a way to buy things. So the money that we're using is actually the decision in our life to build on that kind of career or futures that we want. So the most common questions that people is asking me is when they see my CV, they said how you can do all of this work and what is the opportunities and the choices that you did and how do you think this is the right choices or not. So that's why I was been inspired by many speakers around the world talking about how decision making is actually happened, and that's why I choose this topic for today, because I feel youth, they are really need for a good decision making kind of tips, and it's not hard. So think of hard choices you will face in the near future. It might be between two careers, like for example, for me, diplomat and security, or places to live, the city or the country, or even between two people to marry. Maybe you could marry Jassim or you could marry Abdullah. Or it might be a choice about whether to have children. Some people, they don't want children. To buy a good view apartment or a house, or whether to donate your organs or no. Chances are the hard choices that you thought it was something big, something significant, something that matters to you. Hard choices seem to be occasions for breathtaking, hand-winning, and gesturing of teeth. But I think we have misunderstood hard choices and the role play in our lives. Understanding hard choices uncovered a hidden power of us possessed. So what makes a choice hard is the way the alternative relates. So let's make it in a simple form. In any easy choices, an alternative is better than others. In hard choices, one alternative is better in some ways. The other alternative is better in other ways, and neither is one over the others. So you worry over whether to stay in your current job in the same city or open to your life for another challenges or another work in a different country, because staying is better in some ways and moving is better another way, and either is better than overall. We should not think that all hard choices are big. Okay, let's say you are deciding what to have for breakfast. As simple as that. You could have high fiber brain cereal from Flat White. At the same time, you can have a chocolate donut from Krispy Kreme. So, both what matters in choice is tastiness and healthfulness. The cereal is better for you. The donuts obviously taste way better, but neither is better than the others overall. A hard choice, realizing is that small choices can be also hard, may make big hard choices seem less difficult. After all, we managed to figure out what to have for breakfast. So maybe you can also figure out whether you to buy an apartment in a city or buying a house in the country. By the way, this is always a discussion between me and my mom. We always should not think hard choices are hard because we are stupid. No, you are not stupid. When I graduated from college, I could not decide between two careers, to be diplomat and to work as a security. I realized I love diplomacy. There was an amazing thing you can learn as a diplomat, and all of that, it was out of my comfort zone. And you can get all the knowledge in a comfort of an armchair and networking. But I came from a family where we are very close and determined. My idea of success was building over a career but no one before me started. So I love something that's new. Career that everyone has started, like no female before me joined until the present time. So I got my own my notebook and I draw a line down the middle and I try to best to think reasons for against each alternative. I remember thinking to myself, if only I know my life in each career would be like, if only Allah or maybe someone buy me a DVD of my future life could send me that DVD and give me two options of that two careers, and I would compare them side by side, and I would see that one is better than the others, and then I would choose. It's gonna be an easy choices. But I got no DVD. Let's being honest. And because I could not figure out which was better, I refused to do what many of us do in hard choices. I took the safest option, fear of being the lockdown like from my society, to be honest. As security, people, they don't understand my career. People think security is someone opening doors for people. They don't understand the knowledge behind them. They don't understand it's an like respectful work. You sit in an office, all of that come with it. Is my job lead me to try working for international relation. And as I discovered, I like more challenges to safe choices. Did not quite fit me, to be honest. It was not who I was. So now I'm security manager and I study hard choices. And I can tell you that fear of unknown, while a common motivational difficult is in dealing with hard choices, resist of micro-conceptual of them. It's mistaken to think that hard choices one alternative really is better than the other, because to be honest, we are too stupid to know which. And since we don't know which, we might as well take least risk options. Even taking two alternatives side by side with full information, a choice can still be hard. So I guess all of us agreed until now with everything that I said, because choices is hard and we take choices on a daily basis. So hard choices are hard not because of us or our ignorance. They are hard because there is no best option. Now, if there is no best option, if the scale did not tip a favor one alternatives over the others, then surely alternative must be equally good. So maybe the right things to say in hard choices is that they are between equal good options, but that cannot be right as well. If alternatives are equally good, you should just flip a coin between them, and seems a mistake to think. Here is how you should decide between careers, place to live, people to marry. You only flip a coin. There is another reason for thinking that hard choices are not choice between equal good. So suppose you have a choice between two jobs, okay? You could be an investment in a banker, or you can be a graphic artist. There's a variety of things that matters in such choices. Like, for example, the extreme of the work, achieving financial security, also having time to raise family and so on, of the excuses that we already put. Maybe the artist's career put you on cutting edges of a new forms of representative expressions, but at the same time, maybe the banking career put you in a cutting edge of a new form of financial manipulation. So imagine the two jobs, however, you like, so that neither is better than the other. So now supposed to improve one of them. So let's imagine one of them is actually has more things to give to you. So suppose the bank who knew about 1,500 Qatari riyal a month to your salary. Does the extra money now make the banking job better than the artist one? Can you think about it? Are you going to buy this decision? To be honest, not necessarily. A higher salary make the banking job better than it's before, but it should not be, it's enough to make being a banker better than being an artist. But if an improvement of one jobs over the other doesn't make it better at all, then the two original jobs could not have been equally good. If you started with two things that are equally good and you improve one over the others, it now must be better than the others. Yes, but this might not be an incentive for you. So choices in life is not that easy as well. So now you have got a puzzle. We have got two jobs. Neither is better than the other, nor are they equally good. So how are you supposed to choose? So if you think about it, something seems to have gone wrong here. Maybe the choice itself is problematic. A comparison, it's impossible. You should not compare anything to each other. But that cannot be right as well. It's not like we are trying to choose between two things that cannot be compared. We are weighing the value of two jobs. After all, not the advantage of the number 6 or the plate that has lots of fried eggs, for example. A comparison of overall equalities of two jobs is something we can make, and one we often do and make. So I think the puzzle, because of an ineffective assumption we make about the value. So we unwillingly assume that value like justice, beauty, kindness, and also the similar to scientific quantities like length, mass, and weight. Take any comparative question not involve value, such as which suitcase is heavier. So if imagine you have two suitcases and both are heavy. There are only three possibilities for that. The weight of one is greater, lesser, or equal to the weight of the others. Probably, like weight can be represented by a real number, 1, 2, or 3, and so on. There are only three possible comparison in here between any two real number. One number is greater, lesser, or equal to other. Not so with values. We tend to assume that scientific thinking hold the key in all the answers that we need around the world. The stuff of one word can be qualified by real number. The stuff of the other word cannot. We should not assume that all the word of the length and weight has the same structures as the word must be of what we should do. So of what matters to us, a child delight, the love you have for your partners cannot be representative by real numbers. Let's be very honest on this. Then there is no reason to believe that this is a choice. There are only three possibilities. That's one alternative is better, worse, or equal to others. We need to introduce a new fourth relation between being better or worse or equal. The decision what's going in is a hard decision, I know, and hard choices. I like to say that the alternatives are on a similarity. When alternatives are in a same bar and a same similarity, it may matters very much which you choose, but no alternative is better than the others because they are all similar in the same bar. Rather, and alternatives are in the same neighborhood of value, in the same league of value, also while at the same time being very different in the kind of value. That's why the choice is hard. So understanding hard choices understanding the hard choices in the way uncovered something about ourselves we did not know. Each of us has the power to create reasons. Imagine within which every choice you face is not an easy choice. There always be best alternative. There is always be a best alternative, then it's the one you should choose. So don't think a lot. Because part of being rational is doing the better thing rather than the worst thing. Choosing what you have most reason to choose. So this is more reasonable. In such a world, we would have most reason to wear black socks instead of pink socks, to eat cereal instead of donuts, to live in a city instead of the countryside, to marry Jasim instead of Abdullah. A world full of only easy choices would enslave us to the reasons. So you should not be enslaved under the reasons. When you think about it, so it's not to believe that reasons give to you and dedicated that you had most reason to pursue exact hobbies you do, to live in the exact house you do, to work in the exact jobs you do as well. Instead, you face alternatives that were similarity, hard choices, and you may reason for yourself to choose that hobby, that house, and that job. When alternatives are on the bar, are on the same similarity, the reasons given to us, the one that determine whether you are making mistakes or a silent, as that what to do. It's here in the space of hard choices that we got exercise our normative power, the power to create reasons for yourself, to make yourself into the kind of person for whom living is preferable than the urban living. When you choose between options in life that are on the same par, we can do something really rather remarkable. We can put our value slaves behind an options. So there is where I stand. There is how I am, and I am for making and I am for choosing the chocolate donuts. This reasons is hard, I know, and a rational response, but it's not dedicated by reasons giving to us. Rather, it's supported by the reason creating by us. And so this is the trick. So when we created reasons for ourselves to become this kind of person rather than that, we from the wholeheartedly become the people that we are. You might say that we become the authors of our own lives. So when we face hard choices, we should not beat our heart against a wall, trying to figure out which alternative is better and making it all about, rational things. There is no best alternative. Instead of looking for reason out of there, we should be looking for reason in there. Sorry, in here. Whom I am, you might decide to be pink socks wearing, cereal loving, country living banking, and might be decided to black socks wearing, also urban living, donut loving artist. What we do is hard choices is very much up to us to choose. And that actually what will make us all different. Now, people who did not exercise their normative and hard choices are drifters. So we will all know people like that. I drifted into many things in my life personally, to be honest. And you can see from the photos, I drifted many times and I come back to different things many times as well. So drifters allow the world to write the stories of their lives. They let mechanism of rewarding and punishment, bats of the heart, fears and easiness of an option to determine what they do. So the lessons of hard choices reflect on what you can put your agency behind and what you can be for, and through the hard choices become that person. So far from being sources of pain and fear, hard choices are precious opportunities for us to celebrate what's special and to buy what we need in life, about the human conditions, what the reason that govern our choices as a correct or incorrect something to run out. And it is here. So in the space of hard choices that we had the power to create reasons for ourselves, to become the deceptive peoples that we are. And that's why choices and decision making are not a cure, but a blessing. Thank you very much.
Um, Thank you so much, Khadeja. That was amazing, and you highlighted the skill of decision making, and especially during this time of COVID, how we're all confined to our homes, and we just have the same old routine. And I think thinking about other opportunities and taking charge of this decision making power and making decisions for ourselves, so we can uh, make use of ourselves and reach our potential. So thank you so much for this. I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Decision making, it's a skill for someone who grew up in an environment where they weren't exposed to, or where they weren't taught to or given a chance to make decisions for themselves. Do you think do you think the transition, or for them to take charge of decision makings, would be difficult?
To be honest, yes, it will be difficult because, as we just explained, it's something that there's no like one, how can I say it, one policy or one like something that you know by heart, something that you know from like, it's based on the situation itself, and it's based on you as a person, and it's based on the what happened around you at the same time. So you cannot decide. Maybe if Elaine, I give you 3 4 options in a different times, the same option. For example, are you gonna study in Qatar or US? Maybe this year you have different, things happening. You have different alternatives that's happening. But maybe next year, the way of your thinking is different. The way of looking about the things is different. People around you are different. You will be inspired to take more maybe risky choices. So it's all about the people around us, and it's all about how you put your heart and the time on the decision that you are taking. So what we want is there is no right or wrong of choices. There is many scheme of colors, so you can choose whatever you want, and then you can drift. You can get back to the choice that maybe you tried for 1 year, it does not match, it doesn't match your career skills or your potential. Maybe your potential is changing, then you draft back. I notice lots of people, Aline, that staying in same career or job they don't even like, they hate it very much, just because they decided like long time ago that they love to be, for example, ICT, or they love to do, for example, diplomacy, or they love to do security. So, or they love to do to be a lawyer. So they cannot choose, and they cannot change, and they cannot draft from their decision because they already take it. No, like they need to calm down. This is okay, a one stop in your life. Just take it, try it for a couple of years, try it for a couple of months. If you feel this does not work with you, it's easy. We have the choice. You are a human being. You have an option. You can say to yourself, it's fine for me. Does not work. I will move to different scenario. I will choose another thing. By the way, I have a relatives. They decided 4 years to be an engineers, and after that, they graduated, they work as an engineer for 2 years, and then they decided, no, I want to be a dentist. And he gets back again to study 5 years to be a dentist. So chooses in life and drifting is amazing. Just take all the opportunities, because sometimes, we stop in a corner in our life because we don't have, the power of taking decision. We stop in the same place and we never take any decision. So other people will take the decision out, like beside you, and this is the whole problem.
Yes, I agree with you. We have another question by Bayan, and she says, what about the people who can't afford to make choices like that? They need to provide for their families.
You like, okay, maybe you don't have like, okay, so it depends on the scenario right now. So Bayan's talking about what happened in the meantime. So she needs to provide something for the family. This option for her, she has two or three alternative options. But at the same time, she has an options of to be a volunteer in a place that she actually like. And instead of like changing the whole career and changing the whole study, she can afford to take courses. Right now, we have lots of people who's moving to be a trainer and to train people. And maybe she can find her passion and a job. For example, like right now, what I'm doing, I'm doing many things in one day. okay, I'm doing, I set as a security manager in the morning, but after that, I'm doing more passionate work that I love. I did not study to be an engineer, a trainer, but at the same time, I study courses, which is a small amount of money. I could not afford to stop my work and, just move to another, again, back to US and study again to be a trainer or an educator to be an academic. But at the same time, I can do something similar that will cover my alternative and give me a decision making that can change also my career. Because you can build your CV by doing small actions. Yani certificates or graduating from university, this does not mean it's black or white. Lots of people being in engineering and right now they are working in, for example, Qatar Charity and other places. And their certificates is there, but they don't want to work with that. It's okay with them. So options is there all the time. Thank you. I'm sorry if I, making it longer.
No, that's amazing. We want to hear from you. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Khadeja, one more thing. So when making a decision, sometimes people usually think about, what their extrinsic motivation is, like, what they will be gaining and what's the ultimate goal or what they will be receiving. But it's so important to think about our intrinsic motivation as well. So when you make decisions, what do you mostly think about? Like, what drives you to make that decision? Your intrinsic motivation mostly, or your extrinsic motivation, or both?
To be honest, it's both. Yeah, to be very honest, it's both. But at the same time, I always believe in mainly when I go behind an opportunities or taking decisions is about opportunities. So because I need to be unaware at that time. So to take decision in a vague society, in a vague scenario, this will not really, help you. It will maybe, destroy your career. It maybe destroy like spending years for nothing, because you came into opportunities and to take decision in it, but because you don't want to get out from your comfort zone. So you don't want to cross that, cross that limit for yourself. You don't want to challenge yourself more. So you will decide, okay, I will stay in my comfort zone more. This is for me. This is, I feel my gut feeling right now telling me this is right. But this is not a gut feeling. This is because you don't know and you do not study the opportunities around you. Maybe because of the opportunity, because of becoming more aware about the opportunity as around you, you will decide something else. So I always when it comes to this kind of questions, I always, push the youth to focus in one thing. You need to be aware of the scenarios around you. You need to be aware of the, a strategic plan for yourself. Everyone needs to put for himself a plan, a strategic goal. So short goals and a long goals. A short goals will lead you to, so this decision will be easier for you to take. It will give you like a systematic way. Maybe it's not a straightforward, but you can jump from this and it will cut years. So you will jump from a normal student within 2 to 3 years to be a motivational speaker, and 3-4 years to be, a teacher, and maybe other university like Harvard University will take you because they see and they find, the career path that you put for yourself is amazing and more inspiring than, a certificate that you will put on the wall.
Yeah, for sure. That's really beautiful. I would just like to add to that like for me personally, when I was growing up, I grew up in a very overprotective and sheltered environment. So mostly I had my parents and my siblings taking decisions for me. So when I started my university at that time, even making the simple decisions like, what I need to wear or, how I need to do this. But like when I was put into this situation at that time, I was struggling. I was like, whether it's right or not. But once you start, because it's a skill, once you start doing it, you get used to it and you become more confident.
Exactly.
So, and I feel like right now, because it's COVID, and I mean, especially for children, like for parents, like when they're at home, even giving them this opportunity, like, when they have like the food set out on the table, not putting food on their plate for them, like giving them the chance, okay, what do you want to eat? asking them. And it's just about someone giving them the power to make this decision that, you can, because you're capable of it and you have it in you. So I feel that's something we all need to work on, and not just for ourselves, but with our other family members who are with us, and especially with children. So thank you so much for this, Khadeja. Any final comments or questions from anyone? Okay, then I think we will wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Khadeja. That was really incredible. We really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for your time. And thank you everyone for joining us. As for tomorrow, we will be having our talk at 5 p.m., not at 2 p.m. So please join in the session at 5 p.m. All right. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Rana. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Fine, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Thank you. Sorry, I assumed that the meeting would finish by 3, but it was a little bit over time. So